This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff.
Let's just get started. How does it feel to be at November 30th, 2025? Year is starting to come to an end. What is most on your mind right now?
Gratitude. I am grateful to be in business with you. I'm grateful to be in business in the United States. I'm grateful that business appears to be picking up. And of course, most of all, I'm grateful for being together with my family over Thanksgiving.
Yes, we were just together with our whole family. My sister's family came in from Northern California, and we had 12 people in my parents' house, in Lloyd and Reese's house. 12 people, somebody sleeping in the office. My wife and I, our son, my brother, his son, but we love it. It's been wonderful. And now everybody is pretty much gone, and it's time for us to discuss. And one thing we were discussing a few minutes ago, because we were going through my mother's closet, and we found an old mink coat, probably from 40 years ago, this beautiful white, gorgeous mink coat. Must have cost, I don't know, $10,000 back when you bought it. Who knows? And it got you thinking about Acmes. Why don't you articulate what's on your mind?
Well, of course, mink means Acmes to me, because Acmes helped pay for the mink that my mother bought for my wife, Risa. And I was thinking about the value of that coat today, which is in impeccable condition, seemingly perfect condition. Yet, in checking with ChatGPT,
something that has been a very interesting addition to our year this year, yeah.
It's probably worth at best $500 and probably more like $250 if we sold it to a dealer.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know. Depends how you guys did buy nice stuff. $250 to $1,000, say.
Right. And it makes me think, Noah bought, we have bought machines recently at low prices.
Acmes.
And the question is, why? Why buy more Acmes, 40-year-old Acmes?
40-year-old, try 60-year-old Acmes.
And, older than this mink coat. And yet these are very functional, valuable machines that were running good parts where we bought them. And we feel they have value. However, we have to doubt ourselves and ask, would we want a warehouse full of these machines bought at what we consider to be low prices? Because it appears that type of business is becoming passé. We still have many machines that we bought 2, 3, 4 years ago, where they had significant value at that time. Wickman's, Acmes, Davenports. And we have not been able to sell them. And we have attached prices to them that were the prices that were obtainable, we thought, 3 or 4 years ago. However, that market may be gone for good.
The question is it price or is it if people just need it or not? I mean, it kind of goes, yes, there is supply and demand. If there's less people that want it, they're going to want to pay less money for it. But at the same time, if it's a rare machine, sometimes lowering the price doesn't even matter. It's either worth X or not. But in any case,
Well, I asked myself, let's say it's an 1 5/8 RBN8 Acme. How much money could somebody potentially make on that machine over the course of 1 year? And the question probably would be somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000, I would think. Maybe I'm low.
Yeah, maybe a lot more.
And maybe a lot more if you had the right job. Yet, we would sell that price in that machine at that price range. Yet we find no buyers. From an economic standpoint, to me, that makes no sense.
Well, we sold the same model of that machine last year for 50 grand.
That's true. And we sold them earlier this year.
And in the
$30,000 price range.
And the year before, or 2 years before, we might have gotten 70 for that machine. And 10 years before, we would have gotten 100 for that machine.
So the question is, what is it telling us? What is the mink coat telling us? What is the Acme, the 8-spindle Acme that we're trying to sell for $35,000, $40,000 and haven't had any success? It's telling us that our buyers, our past buyers, many of whom are still in business and doing quite well.
And using that equipment.
Successfully, don't seem to want to replicate those machines unless they have a breakdown. And then they say, okay, let's find the best machine on the market at the lowest price. And then we'll buy one just because it doesn't pay to fix our old machine. You can't get the parts easily, and you can't get the people easily to fix them, and we don't have the time. So that's when we end up selling those machines. It is not a good business plan to be investing heavily in those machines, it appears. However, the market tends to change. Who knows? If business were to pick up significant, let's say in the automotive world, maybe that market would wake up.
Wake up. I mean, you're not going to crush it, but if you buy it dirt cheap, then maybe you can make a good score. The problem is this has been, for most of the life of our business, this buying mechanical cam multi-spindles has been the specialization we have. And at first, I think, way before I was involved, it was awesome because not only did we specialize in it, but this was one of the machines that dominated factories in the United States.
And we could rebuild them. We had talented people who could rebuild them. Their wages were such that they could rebuild them, and we could make a good profit on a rebuilt machine or refurbished machine. Sold at a very competitive price. Again, those people are missing. They're unlikely to be replicated. We have to ask ourselves, are we chasing a snake that doesn't exist?
So yes, this is one thing we've been doing. However, that said, like a few years, like the last few years, we have had some success selling Davenports, which is, for those who don't know, this is known as the machine that won World War II. It has the same design. How old are Davenports? 120 years old?
Mr. Davenport invented the Davenport machine around 1912, I believe. So we're talking about
112-year-old machine, and the design isn't that different.
that is true. This is the machines we're selling are Model B Davenports. They are now selling a more sophisticated Davenport, but it's still the 5-spindle machine. It looks a lot like the old machine, but they are now calling it a hybrid machine.
Well, no, you're missing something. So a regular mechanical Davenport, which they still sell quite a bit of, they sell those for $250,000. They have like an even better model. I think they sell for more. And
Yes,
then
for close to $500,000.
Well, no, they have like a better mechanical model, the high precision one. They probably sell for 300, and then they have a CNC Davenport that they sell for 450. In any case, this is something that Graff-Pinkert has been tried to deal with, and it seems like the moment we dismiss the old machine, all of a sudden we get a couple deals and we go, oh, that is interesting. We shouldn't dismiss that. But why don't you discuss in general terms? We did have one customer, for instance. They had all cam multi-spindle screw machines, and how many do you think they had? 30?
They had about 30, 25, 30.
And then you think they traded them all in, or just a whole bunch of them?
They got rid of all of them.
They got rid of all of them
for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a piece.
And then they bought several index multi-spindle screw machines. These are maybe the most popular model these days. 22 millimeter 8 spindle. I think they actually can do 22 millimeter, but they can do 24 millimeter parts. It's called an index 822 or 22-8. And yeah, they bought several of them, and they paid over $3 million for them. And
each.
Yeah, over $3 million each for them. So, that is an interesting sign of the times. And when they did, you just figured, you were shocked, right?
I was shocked. I was shocked because the question was, are they that much better than a 1-inch Acme?
They are. I mean, they make an entirely different kind of part. They make a value-added part. They make a part that you could make, I don't know, $1 from one of those parts, where you make 10 cents from an Acme part.
Or they're making $10 on that part, and on the Acme, they were making a quarter.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting
I don't know.
to break it down. But
we don't understand. And are they able to make it much faster? Are they able to make it with higher quality?
There are some times where somebody could have a Davenport and they buy an index, and you go, really? But because people don't have anybody that wants to run an old oily screw machine, so they decide they're going to buy something. They want to make a lot of parts fast, and they figure out how to do it. Anyways,
Or the question is, in this case, it was they bought them to make.
I don't know exactly what they bought it for. Maybe medical, or
it could be medical. It could be
probably medical.
Could be
I think
conditions.
Yeah, I think it was medical, and I think it was medical. Somebody in California, right?
Wherever. And so that brings us at Graff-Pinkert to the issue of what machines are we looking to buy? What machines are we looking to broker? And of course, that is dictated by the demand. And it is also dictated by what is available.
And the hard part is we want to do something that not everybody's doing. We don't want to just, because then you're really in a rat race. If you're trying to beat all the other dealers who are, doing every kind of machine, and some of them are very successful, but that's just never really been our style. So we've always been looking for quote unquote weird machines, and machines just of various brands that I think we know a little bit more of the market than others, like Index. What else is on your mind right now? What have we been seeing?
I think going back to the question of, from a business standpoint, what does Graff-Pinkert spend its time on each day? We had a very interesting case in the past couple of weeks, and that was an auction in Wisconsin where there were 100 Davenports being sold. Why were they being sold? This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, user of Davenports in the United States. And why were they selling them? Because they didn't have enough work to run on those Davenports. They're still running Davenports.
They probably still have 100 of them.
Yeah, at least, maybe more. However, they decided to sell 100 Davenports and close this facility, a very modern, beautiful facility in southern Wisconsin. Not far from where a large data center is being built by Microsoft, which is an interesting little detail to bring up, because some of those people that may have been working on screw machines at that factory may now be working either to build that new data center.
I think they were actually going to use the building that the Davenports were in as a data center.
No, it isn't big enough, but it might be an auxiliary for the data center. It might be where they put a tool room for that data center, or it might be where they put offices for that data center. Who knows? But, the interesting fact is that the real estate was more valuable because the data center was coming in nearby than it was for a company running 100 Davenports.
Meanwhile, we've been selling Davenports to a multinational company who's been buying a zillion Davenports. And these machines that we still have, we rent a warehouse. It's not nearly the magnitude of the old warehouse we had when we owned a warehouse. But we've kept Davenports in there. We've had 20 Davenports for a few years in there. We've bought and sold here and there, and now all of a sudden we sold a whole bunch to a company that's going to put them somewhere overseas. They have places in Mexico and China, and they are still looking for more. And so this machine that's a similar design to 115 years ago is it's still selling.
Interestingly enough, this company placed an order basically taking up the whole capacity of Davenport to make new machines, like the old CAM machines that they have run for 50 or 60 or 70 years.
Yeah, they need so many that they're buying new ones, and they're buying old ones, and they're buying old good ones, and they're buying old crappy ones and rebuilding them.
Okay, so let's say they figure that a large percentage, let's say 40%, end up going to China. What's the rationale for them to buying Davenports versus, say, buying Indexes or buying new Davenports? Well, first of all, their planning is to rebuild many of the Davenports that they're buying right now. And they have a rebuilding facility in China as well as one in the United States. And their belief is that there is still a market for product being made on Davenports.
For people who don't know, the Davenport is one of the fastest screw machines in the world. You can make a part on a Davenport. They're small. They're generally 3/4 of an inch, and you can make a part in 4 seconds, 3 seconds.
2 seconds.
So, and it's granted it's going to be a simple part, but
There are many uses for small parts as bushings or as
or
inserts,
pins.
pins. And if you're catering to a world market, so you're in their shoes, and they're saying to themselves, we want to tremendously expand our capacity because we believe there is a market there, and people have abandoned this market because they feel that this is old school and they want to be sophisticated. And they say, we can be more competitive than they are by buying machines that may ultimately cost us $25,000. And let's say they buy 300 of these machines for $25,000. This is a pittance compared to what it would cost to buy
A new index.
10 new indexes, 5 new indexes. And for making the parts that they are making.
Right. If you have cheap labor or even moderate labor, people that are willing to run them and people that know what they're doing, there is a place. And it's so interesting, the disconnect. If you talk to somebody from Index, and there are some very smart people at Index we know, they'll go, really? Anybody's running those?
Yeah.
There is somebody in the world that would want to run it. So that's one thing.
But I want to bring up a thing that I have been reading about, listening to on podcasts, and that is what is going on in China. The United States, or at least the United States government, and many American businesses are terribly worried about trade with China because the Chinese appear to be able to make good product, not maybe the quality of product being made in the United States or in Europe, but close to it at a fraction of the price that we're paying for the same part. And this presents a real problem for American manufacturers of relatively unsophisticated products, but even
sophisticated products.
even more sophisticated products. I mean, from what we understand in the chip world, the Chinese are able to produce a chip that is almost as good as the NVIDIA chip, but they are able to produce them at such a low price that their strategy is, if we can be 90 to 95% as good and able to sell the price for 30% less, we're going to win a lot of the business. And this is something that is worth worrying about in the United States. But it is also something that the Chinese are very worried about too, because the cutthroat competition in China is producing product so cheaply that they're fearful that they're going to put themselves out of business because they're not making a profit.
Really?
Because of the competition. I mean, think about the number of breweries we have in the United States. There's maybe 40 breweries in the United States, 50. There are craft breweries. They have 10,000 breweries in China. If you think about car companies, there are probably 100 car companies in China. And they are able to make an electric car now in China and sell it in the Chinese market for under $10,000. And they are selling them now in Germany for as low as $16,000. And we're not talking about a worthless car. We're talking about a decent, small electric car. This is the kind of competition that Americans have to worry about. And this is why our market is trending towards buying sophisticated, high-quality machines. And that is where we're moving our interest.
Yeah. And it seems like each year we have, a few index deals that, make a big difference. We have to balance the sexy machines with the sexy, ugly machines.
Right. And our thinking has been that we don't want to spend a lot of time on selling mink coats that people don't want to buy.
But then keep a couple minks around.
But keep a couple around because somebody has a breakdown. Somebody realizes the value of an 8-spindle National Acme vis-a-vis an 8-spindle index and says, I can make a 200% return in 1 year on this machine. Why should I buy a machine for $3 million?
All right, let's talk about a few other things that we've noticed in this year. I don't want to just beat it to death, but related to what we're talking about is tariffs. We've done some LinkedIn polls and found recently, at the end of the year, let's just be honest, business for used machinery dealers, if you ask, I'd say 8 out of 10 used machinery dealers will say overall the year has kind of sucked.
Right, and the others would be lying.
All right, well, one of them would be lying, and then one of them would be telling the truth. A lot of the dealers, including us, have said that the fourth quarter has been pretty good. And this is partly because it's the end of the year, people want the tax breaks, people want to buy. But I think a lot of it has just been indecision because of tariffs, because of not knowing what the heck is going to go on the next day, as far as what their costs are going to be. And it's still crazy. But I did a poll asking if indecision this year caused them
Where was this poll?
On LinkedIn, amongst people in our industry. The poll was, has indecision, the indecision because of tariffs caused you to not buy equipment this year? And 50% said that was one reason why they had not bought equipment.
Indecision, which would indicate business was okay. In other years, it would have validated a buy. But because of the tariffs and because of not knowing what the tariffs would be the next day, people have said, well, I'll hold off.
Yeah. Because, just so people know, we were burned on the tariffs brutally. We sold a machine that was a Tornos machine. It had been in Germany, but a Tornos machine's built in Switzerland. And we sold it to a company in the United States. And the timing was terrible. Had maybe we gotten everything done right away, maybe we could have beaten the tariff, but Liberation Day came, and we had no idea what exactly it meant. But fortunately, back then, it was only a 10% tariff. But 10% on a machine that was several $100,000 sucked. I mean, there goes your profit. So, I mean, I hate the tariffs. And, that makes me, maybe some people have sort of more nuanced feelings about it. Well, when it really hits your wallet, you go, yes, tariffs, hate.
In my opinion, the tariff fear has settled somewhat now. I think that my own opinion is that when Trump initiated the tariffs in April, he had no idea what he was doing. Somebody had advised him that this was going to bring enormous manufacturing money back to the United States, as well as
jobs,
and it would reduce the deficit. Well, the reality was that it has brought unemployment. It has brought
higher prices.
It has brought indecision. And at least in manufacturing, it's brought something close to a recession, if not a recession.
Don't get me wrong. There are people who have said this was a wonderful year for them. There are other people who have said it's been solid. Other people who have said, it's okay. We haven't talked to that many people who have gone under, though we have seen quite a bit of auctions, which would indicate that it hasn't been bueno.
Right. And there are a lot of European countries that are interested in bringing manufacturing to the United States.
And interested in bringing manufacturing back home because of the tariffs.
Maybe. The Chinese would love to invest here, but they have to do it under the table by investing in Mexico. And then, of course, there's tremendous confusion about tariffs from Canada and Mexico, particularly on raw material from Mexico. Raw material from Canada, such as aluminum.
Let me talk. Were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Let's I think let's reflect a little personal now on first professionally. What's something you've done this year that you felt really good about? Something you've learned, or even just observed in yourself or the business?
I feel very fortunate that I'm able to still contribute in this business, which is over 80 years old.
Beyond contribute.
And I think that personally, from a personal standpoint, it's kept me vibrant, and it's given me happiness to be able to be part of an organization and to feel like I can still make a difference and come up with fresh ideas. And that is a wonderful thing. And whether we make a lot of money or we don't make a lot of money, I still feel good about this year because it's been a great year emotionally for me.
What do you think how do you think you've improved? I mean, I can give, if I may be so bold as to give an observation of you and what you've said, it seems like you've gotten more aggressive at calling people to create serendipity, a little bit more on offense. Would you say that's true?
It's true. Lately, I feel like, honestly, I feel like I left too many things to other people, hoping that they would pick up the ball all the time. And now I feel like I'm part of the team. I've got to pick up the ball too, and
Well,
do my share.
yeah. Well, as the owner, I think the formula is for you to delegate and not have to uh, be quite as active in the business as on the business. But at the same time, it seems like this is something that's been.
I feel like I can contribute. I can do things that other people can't do, and uh, uh, and it gives me pleasure to do stuff. To be honest, it gives me pleasure to connect with people in the business and learn from them and try to contribute to what they're doing, and in the process, make a deal.
Mhm.
And um, I've been trying to explain to uh, grandchildren what I do, and it's not an easy concept, but I love to connect the dots. I love to be creative.
They are getting more interested in stuff you've written.
Yes, yes, and the writing is again part of my uh, very strong creative urge and desire to write things that other people haven't written or haven't seen.
Do you feel like the writing gives you, maybe I won't say more purpose, but definitely a different kind of purpose than the machinery business? Do you think of it like that, of affecting lots of people because of what you write? And that this is, like, I know for me, like, I get a charge out of knowing that I'm leaving my mark on the world, just making something like this. There's going to be, you know, a few thousand people that read about this interview, a couple hundred that watch or listen to it. Um, does that, do you think about that or not really?
I do think about it. I do think about the possibility of illuminating something or changing somebody's mind or confirming something. But I have to say that I also write because I just love to write.
No, I mean, I think that I was listening to a book about creativity from Rick Rubin and the famous producer. And, what he says is if, if you're writing, specifically for other people, then the art can suffer. It has to be, but at that same time, like when people say, I only do art for me, I only care about me seeing it. I'm not a believer in that either. Like, I believe you're making something to share with the world.
Yes, I'm trying to connect, but I'm also writing because I like to put together ideas that I never had thought of before I put them on the page.
Hmm. Isn't that amazing, the process? And same thing with making deals.
Yeah. Right. It's making something that wasn't there that people didn't know could be done, and then somehow making it happen.
After you make a deal, do you feel, if you make a big deal, do you get do you get a shot of adrenaline? Do you, or is it more the pleasure of it? I mean, I know you often say you do this business because it's fun. Are you getting more pleasure just in the process of making the deal rather than, um, you know, seeing the actual person say, okay, we have a deal?
When you were asking me the question, I was thinking about one of the reasons that I went into this business. is because of a story that my father told me when he started out in business.
I have a feeling I know what it's going to be. Go on.
And he was in business with his father had died recently. He had gone into the machinery business, and my father always wanted to have a partner that could help him stay happy and not lapse into depression and fear. So he asked his uncle Abe, who was a big, fat, garrulous guy, to go in business with him. And he and Abe went out on the road. This is what they would do every week. They would go out on the road. They would call people or knock on doors and say, "Do you have any machinery for sale?" And every once in a while, they would say, "Yeah." This was in the late 30s, early 40s that we're talking about.
So it's a big deal to just call people on the phone.
Yeah. And what they would do is they'd often go to a town like Kalamazoo, and they'd go to the phone company, and they'd get phone numbers from the phone company, and then the phone company would give them a phone or two phones, and they'd start to make calls from those phones from the phone company in the town.
Brilliant.
And so my father told me about the story. They found this machine, and I think it was a milling machine. And they got in the car and they drove over to the company and they bought the machine. And then they called a dealer in Chicago, Adams Machinery, and they said, "Would you want to buy this machine?" And they said, "Yes, and we'll pay you." This was 2 or 3 times what they had paid for the machine. And they were so thrilled. They were so happy. They had such a rush of adrenaline, and they wanted to somehow express how they felt. So what did they do? They went to the local ice cream parlor
In Kalamazoo?
in Kalamazoo, and they bought chocolate milkshakes and chocolate sundaes. And the act of, I could just envision, I could remember my father telling me about sipping this milkshake, this chocolate milkshake, and then feeling the sense of fulfillment that they had made a deal. And I thought, what a cool thing to do. And it was one of the reasons why I ended up working for him during summers and then later ultimately going into the business, because I wanted that kick.
Did you ever do, I mean, we've done the ice cream every once in a while on a big deal, or we'll go out for an Italian beef or something, but how, back when you were working with him, did you ever do the ice cream thing? Or was this just sort of a one-off?
I think we may have, but I don't remember doing it. I remember doing it, I think, with my cousin Dan, Aaron Pinkert's son. I think we did that when we found a 9/16 National Acme in Milwaukee. It was our one deal of the summer.
Because, I feel like with me, as far as machinery deals, when I get the victory, we finally make the sale, I like talking to you or whomever we worked with about it and thinking about it, but
it's almost a sense of relief.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, maybe because it takes so long to finally close it, usually I'm like, all right, on to the next one. It's almost the process of doing it has had more highs than actually ringing the register, which is a little different than, say, doing a podcast or a video where, I don't know, maybe where you watch it and it's also a sense of relief, but you do, when you watch something and you go, damn, this is good. Or you write a blog and you go, damn, this is good.
Yeah.
And then But then ironically, then, I mean, well, I guess sometimes you watch it over and over again when you're showing other people, but I don't know. It's different for me. It's
It's different for me now too. It's no longer, I'm going to go out and have a milkshake. It's more, relief. We're going to make money this month.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe that says something about a mind shift. Maybe we need to be celebrating more. Maybe, but you know, I guess for me, I've been saying it for a long time. And it probably is annoying to you and other people because I get into these kind of things, but I've been really trying to get as many shoulds out of my language as possible. I should do this. I should feel this way. I should have said this to the guy. I should have negotiated this way. I should have bought this stock. I should have, went to this restaurant. And then future. Well, I really should call this person, whatever. And it's just such a judgment. And I keep trying to get rid of it for myself. I either say could, must, or no. And a lot of times, sometimes it's really hard to get rid of the should. And so when that happens, I'll just say like ought. It's just like a cheat. Oh, I really ought to, look into this tax thing. That's been one of the things that I've been talking about with myself, but I've really been working on a lot of things lately. I've started which I think this works very well to talk about since it's sort of the end of the year thing. I listened to this book called The 12-Week Year. And, it's a book about productivity to some extent. You look at how people approach a year, and so often it all gets, sure, you make gains over the year, you have wins over the year, but in the last 2 months, it's just a big mad dash. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. Let's make all this money here. Let's make these changes, or let's, I'm joining a gym. And with the 12-week year, instead, it's like how it sounds. 3 months becomes a year. You set goals for those 3 months. And, you're really looking at each week and each month more carefully. And I mean, it's been around a while. The people who created it, I suppose, have found great success in it. But the other part of this book, the critics say, oh, it just creates this hustle culture and people burn out. But what the writers of the book say is you have to come up with a vision of your life 3 years and 5 years down the road. That obviously, it's really hard to know exactly what you're going to be doing. And sure, if you can think of specifics, great. But you think of a North Star as far as the balance in your life. What's the pace of your life? How would you balance professional parts and leisure parts and being with your family and So, um, I've been using ChatGPT and Claude and a lot of AI this year. That's another huge thing this year. How much AI has become part of my daily existence. Some people, it's interesting the different camps. There are people, smart people on both sides that go, "No, I don't really touch this stuff, or I wouldn't really use it." And then other people who are just like me. And every day I go to it and want the answer to this or that. But what's neat about ChatGPT is if you get the premium version, it will learn about you. It'll remember you. And so I got together with ChatGPT and I told it about the 12-week year and coming up with my personal vision. And obviously, these LLMs like ChatGPT, it's like they've read a zillion books. They're not always right, but they know at least something about what you're talking about when you tell them, "Oh, I did the 12-week year and now I want to come with my vision." And so for 2 weeks, like pretty intense, I don't know, I probably spent 12 hours, 15 hours doing this with ChatGPT. It going through all these different prompts, asking me about how I imagine my ideal life, where I might be living, what the kinds of things I'd be doing. And then, again, a lot of it is just the process, the thinking process of exploring yourself. And sometimes it tries to do too much work for you. That's one of my criticisms of ChatGPT. Like, particularly if you're writing with it or something, it'll try to read your mind and it'll come up with too much. And so often I tell it, "All right, just shut up. Like, no, I'm writing this. Just prompt me." And it'll go, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'll hold back." Um, but going through all these questions it asks you, and then you just kind of pour your heart out to it. And the beautiful thing is it's keeping track of everything and it synthesizes it together. And then it spits out a document that kind of summarizes where you're going and what you're doing. And
I find that scary. I find it offensive.
why? What do you find scary?
It's a machine that's doing this. It's a bunch of data. It's not out of you.
It's
You're-
totally out of me.
You're asking them to synthesize something for you that you should be able to synthesize for yourself.
Maybe, but I, I mean, how is going to say a human for advice better?
Because they have creativity
Well,
and they have heart.
the point is, this can put together so much data in its head about you that you've given it. It can piece together. It can weave things together about you. Trust me, it gives me stuff and I question it and I go, "No, you don't get this." And then we go back and forth, which that's the great part. It's a conversation. Um, I've had a life coach for several years, and she was the one who told me to do this with ChatGPT. She said, "This has been a game changer
All
for
I
her."
can say is that I hope it's helpful for you. I really do. But
I think it's helpful.
but
Sometimes
personally, I would prefer not to use it, and I would prefer conversations with people that you care about and who care about you.
well, I believe in both, and I think it's important to not get too wrapped up in it and then sacrifice conversations with your loved ones. But sometimes your loved ones or professionals they're only capable of doing so much, and they have certain biases, and maybe you want to hear their biases, but at the same time, um, I don't know. There's something nice about it. There's something safe about it not being somebody who you know is going to judge you.
Yeah, that I get. That I get.
And they program them to be so nice to you. Like,
Yeah.
you put something in and you put a should on yourself, and then they go, "Oh, don't worry. You're doing great."
Yeah. But then I think about Sarah, our daughter's sermon, and the theme is make space for face to face.
I think that I'm a firm believer in making space for face to face. And then you have something to talk about after you've gone to that, and you can analyze it with someone. But I could see how other people might have a lot more trouble balancing.
No, it's always interesting. And
Anyways, that's been what's been on my mind the last few weeks, and I know that I talk quite a bit when I'm interviewing other people, but it is nice to sometimes just get to opine in this way. So I thought I would share that. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people of the world? Something else you're grateful for, or advice?
yeah, I get the privilege of working with you.
Yeah. I get the privilege of working with you, and I have a gratitude list almost every day in the morning, and you are part of it, getting to work with you. And I don't take it for granted.
And I don't either. And I hope I get more time to do it.
Yes. And let's do some more podcasts together.
Okay.
So everybody out there, we wish you a good year. And, I'm copying other podcasters by giving people a message, but at the end, my message to people is be grateful. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the people in your life. And if possible, make a gratitude list. Put it in front of you. I think it might empower you and give you some energy and make you feel good.
And try to make other people grateful for you.
All right.